Warning.
Warning.
This album was recorded by mistake.
By mistake.
And it's not an album, it's an episode.
I guess it's episode 2.
That's right. But there are no mistakes.
There are no mistakes unless we mess up which album we were supposed to speak about.
That's correct.
That's what we did.
That's what we did?
Oops.
But now we're doing this one.
We're not sorry.
Nope.
Bye.
So it's in my brain. Okay, here we go.
Can't unhear it.
This is a show about the 500 albums that Rolling Stone says are the best, and we're gonna talk about them ad nauseum. This is a show about the 500 albums that Rolling Stone says are the best, and we're gonna talk about them ad nauseum. This is a show about the 500 albums that Rolling Stone says are the best, and we're gonna talk about them ad nauseum. This is a show about the 500 albums that Rolling Stone says are the best, and we're gonna talk about them ad nauseum.
Hello, and welcome back to Backwards Beats Podcast. I'm Carl Carter Fansteel.
I'm Dan Woodard.
You still are.
Still am.
How do you do that?
It just happens.
That's fantastic. It's a gift, Daniel.
It's unknowable.
Now I'm confused. Just like I'm confused at how you figured out how to manipulate all of our social media and then animate our South Park-like images and create so much content, schedule it for automatic drop, and get it all out this past week so we can start teasing the idea of this podcast in real life.
It's been a trip, actually. Some of the stuff is easy for me. Some of it was shockingly hard. And what was surprising about it is the shockingly hard stuff
Was Instagram.
It was fucking Instagram.
I feel like such a Luddite trying to navigate Instagram. Like, what am I missing?
I don't know. I know old people use Instagram, and I was sitting on my nuts on this one. It took a minute. I literally wrote software that animates our mouths.
But Instagram,
Right.
you can't get a thing to auto post.
I tried. No, the auto post was the easy part. I just wanted to do a quick Instagram story, and it took 3 tries. I had to delete it. I'm like, that's not what I meant to do. I don't know how I was fat fingering this. I've done them before, but to be fair, I'm like 5 years out of even in addressing social media. So
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, and I've had to re-engage because it's the world we live in here.
right,
And it's not like we could just start like an OnlyFans for this and get away with it.
not on day one.
Not on day one. Maybe when we're 400.
You got it.
How cool would it be to do OnlyFans content and be one of the 6 creators on there who's not doing porn?
Wow, that's deep. Let's do it.
Remember, that site was created specifically not for porn. Wink, wink.
Right.
Like, you can also just go on there and like paint Warhammer figures and have followers who pay you.
That's true.
And so maybe that'll be our thing. Maybe we'll OnlyFans.
All right. Well, if you guys like this content, let us know if you want to do that, and maybe that's the route we'll take.
Totally. You should hit us on the email over
At backwardsbeatspodcast@gmail.com.
I always like to see if I can catch you on the stumble there. You're slick with it though.
Well, as much as I love the name of our podcast, the fact that we made it plural makes it a nightmare to say.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
We've been hashing away at content and little pieces of side content and production meetings to try and tuck away a 10-song little reserve, or 10-album reserve, may I say, before our release on January 7th of 2025. And the idea here is, get ahead of our curve in case there's a vacation or sick day. So we'll always be a little ahead of your content, but that's nice because it means if you do email us or engage with us on the social, eventually we'll catch up.
Right.
We're just buying ourselves some runway for beginners issues. But B, it means we'll be able to talk knowledgeably about our content, and we'll be able to look back at what we said.
Correct.
And review it.
Now, this being episode 10.
Wow, we're already there.
We're already 10. I'm curious, since we'll probably take a break after this because we're recording this the week before Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll probably not get 11. So I'm curious how well our reserve holds up. When will we record episode 11? Will it be December? Will it be January? Will it be February? When will we record it? And how well will we maintain the buffer?
Yeah, it should be interesting to find out. One way or another, I think we've agreed we're going to batch these things into seasons, right? Mm-hmm. So it won't have to be so hammered.
Right.
But, Wednesday night is the night before Thanksgiving. It's a notorious party night.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure I'm hired to play music that night somewhere.
I think I'm supposed to be day drinking next Wednesday.
I mean, I'll join you in that too. We could do some side content. That'd be fun. Maybe we do a Zoom or something like that if neither of us can drive.
That's what people want, is nice drunk side
Just
content.
wasted side content.
Yeah.
Hey, come over here. I want to talk about this one thing from the Bonnie Raitt album.
We could do that. But you know what we probably should do?
Our podcast?
We should probably do our podcast.
Wonderful. So, welcome to Rolling Stone's 490 on the list.
491.
491. So sorry. Thank you, Daniel.
This is really hard. Numbers are hard,
Yeah,
right? We started with 500,
that's right. So,
but we have to count
actually
500.
Walk back.
Walk backwards, yes.
All right, take over. So 491 is
the album Fine Line by Mr. Harry Styles.
formerly of the band.
One Direction.
Yes. And this is a pop album, and it was released in 2019, which it is aged beautifully. I would have actually guessed 2021.
Yeah. Well, it's just barely 2019. It was December 13th.
Truth.
So just barely 2019. But
Doesn't quite count as a Christmas album, Daniel.
no, it doesn't. We've had other Christmas albums on this podcast, though.
And this weighs in at a sweet 46 minutes and 43 seconds. What's stunning is the sheer amount of listens that sit on this album in Spotify. One song in particular that you'll be familiar with, but there's a couple bangers have breached the billion line.
Heartily breached them.
There's three right there.
Those are numbers.
Those are big numbers.
Yep.
That is, when you see 10 numbers and multiple commas, you know that this guy's made some money in his time.
Yeah, scroll down. Let's look at look at the turds on this one. What's the worst performing song in this one?
Worst performing song might be what I'm hovering right now.
I think the one right below.
Oh, you're right. 206 million.
That's it. Right. So we'll call that the flop on the album.
Yeah. Wow. Not a bad song either.
I love that song, actually.
Yeah, it's not a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that said, wildly successful album by critical acclaim, whether it be the Rolling Stones acclaim, but also just in sheer listenership on Spotify.
Yeah, like numbers wise, it kind of ranked in. It's hard nowadays with like the RIAA rankings, but it came in, triple platinum.
Yep.
Nowadays, they're counting album sales with streams. I can't remember exactly how many streams equal an album, but there's some algebra that they do to
as
figure
there
that out.
should be.
Yep.
I mean, you have to adapt.
Yep.
This is an album born in a world without physical copies.
It was nominated for a Grammy. Do you know what the category was?
Best emo stripper music.
Almost. You're so close. It's actually the best immersive audio album.
You know what?
I don't even know what those words mean.
I feel like I do. I like this as a description.
It is an immersive album. I would agree.
What makes an album immersive for you? Like if you had to give me your three top items, what's immersive?
Well, I think this album actually, for a pop album, makes you pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one note, literally, and I think there's a bit of a story to this album, and the album actually, in my opinion, this album is broken into 2 discrete sections.
I could get down with that. Yes.
Yep. With a pivot point.
A distinctive one, yeah.
Very
sure.
distinctive pivot point. And there are songs that have soundscapes on here.
Lots of those.
Lots of those. This album also has every single production trick available.
Yes.
On it, which for better or for worse.
Not a ton of for worse.
No,
in my personal opinion.
mostly for better.
And this is why I think that nomination is not, unfounded. Like it's a good use of audio space across the board.
It is. I just thought it was I didn't know that's such a specific category.
Is.
That's what I find funny.
Yeah,
No dig on the album.
Who
Just
had
like
to sit around and bitch for that thing? Like, how did that become?
So I don't know who else won
Like
Grammys.
Sade was pissed she didn't win one year, and she was like, "Hey, I'm writing a strongly worded letter."
It very well could have been like a tie, right? I don't know like who won Best Album that year or something like that. Like, and like we can't leave Harry Styles out of this conversation, right? So maybe it was nominated for Best Album. I probably should have looked that up. I don't know.
We can't do all the work.
I'm not going to do it either. But I'm sure there are categories that come up because someone deserves a nod.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, and he earned it on this one. My biggest compliments in the album in general is he seemed to have a lot of trust, or he had no control. I don't know the real backstory, but I'm assuming I'm benefited of the doubting that he really trusted his arrangers and producers, and they hired some kick-ass musicians across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just kind of a part of a band more than he's out front on this one, in my opinion. And he's riding an awesome wave of music.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like I'm getting Harry Styles' identity in this album.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, he came from One Direction, a band that was formed. Right? Do you know the forming of One Direction?
I know that these were guys trying to essentially do the America's Got Talent, but the British version.
X Factor.
X Factor, thank you.
Yep.
It had a very popular name. And didn't these guys not make the cut for solo artists? And so it was either be in a boy band or bust?
Essentially. And the funny thing about this, I always heard that Simon Cowell was the one who formed this band.
That's what I thought too, yeah.
Because he signed them, essentially. And he owns like all the legal...
It's pronounced Simon, I'm sorry.
What did I say?
It signed them, sorry. Bad dad joke.
I thought he said Simon. But because One Direction is not a band that suits my demographic. I didn't really follow One Direction's career trajectory. I was aware of them, of course.
Didn't?
It's hard. Not really.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never been a big boy band guy. Like, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Were the Jackson 5 a boy band?
Yes.
Okay. The Osmonds?
Yes.
Okay. The term didn't exist till the 80s, but so...
boy bands have been around for a very, very long time.
Right.
And boy band is an identity and like an appeal. Like, oh, he's the bad one and he's the quiet one. Like, that's the idea of the boy band, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so that's been a long, this is not a NSYNC Backstreet thing. This is not a Belle Biv DeVoe Boyz
New
II Men
Edition
thing.
yeah.
New Edition thing. Yeah. Who else was in that? 112. I mean, like we had depth in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I think this keeps rolling back and back. New Kids on the Block was on the other side of that tip. But I'd say pre-90s there were definitely boy bands.
For sure.
Jackson 5, man. I mean, 4 Seasons?
Maybe?
Was the Rat Pack a boy band? Oh my God.
Mind blown. Yeah. So, doing a little research on this, I saw people have probably seen this, but I don't know if people listening to this podcast will necessarily know the trajectory of One Direction. But there's a really cool video behind the scenes of literally it took 5 minutes to create One Direction. So you're correct. They did not make the cut.
Okay.
And there's this over-the-shoulder shot of, Simon and Nicole and Lewis, like all talking about these people who are not making the cut, but felt there are some individuals that were still good. And so, like I said, Simon's the one who's getting the credit. But if you watch the video, it's really cool. Nicole's like, but in a boy band, they'd be great. And they're putting the pictures together. And she's like, oh my God, the girls are going to fall in love with them. And she's like so genuine about this. The video. Incorrect. Yes. The video, I think, is like 4.5 minutes long. And they show the entire thing. And they're just stacking the pictures up. Yes, 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 yes. And that became One Direction. It literally took 5 minutes for them to stack a bunch of pictures together of people who were already talented. They just didn't make the solo cut. And it turned into a group that sold over 70 million albums.
Ooh.
Right? Crazy.
I want to be in a boy band. Is it too late at the tender age of 40?
Might be. But it's a cool video. It's on YouTube. You can see that.
Yeah, I want to watch that after this.
Yeah.
That'll be the after podcast activities. I want to see this video.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, he obviously did the Timberlake thing, right? Or who was the Nick Carter, I guess, was the big one out of the Backstreet, right? Mm-hmm. The one guy who escapes and really runs in front of the horses. This was Harry for One Direction, pretty definitively.
Yeah, One Direction didn't last that long, given that they sold 70 million records. They were like from 2011 to like 2016 or something.
Well, sure, but that's all you need to get footing.
Yeah, and I think he was struggling a bit with. So One Direction had a cleanliness factor.
Mm-hmm.
And interviewers were constantly like asking him questions like, who have you slept with? And all that kind of stuff. And he probably didn't want to answer, but he was always concerned about making sure he didn't screw up interviews. And he felt like the pressure of.
This is very like a Mickey Mouse Club Disney child to me in a weird way.
Yeah. I mean, I think almost everybody got out of it unscathed. Not everyone.
No, as we recently found out in the headlines.
Yep. But if you look at like the Mouseketeers, there's only a handful that maybe JT is probably the only one who's kind of survived like unscathed. Like
Aguilera was one of them, wasn't she?
She had some troubles.
JT almost lost the tour. This is gonna ruin the tour. There's a little DUI incident.
That's true. That's true. Yeah,
but that's nothing compared to like Britney Spears like throwing around knives in a bra online. I mean, she's
childhood stardom is difficult, right?
Oh, terrible.
So anyway, One Direction pretty much all agree to break up.
They did their thing. Everybody made their money. They did the thing for the national image.
Yep.
And a couple of them escaped with some music careers.
Yeah.
Harry, most notably.
So one thing I was digging into this album, we talked about the soundscapes in here. So this album was recorded at Real World Studio in England.
Okay.
Which is owned by Peter Gabriel.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. And Peter Gabriel created the studio right after the success of the album So, which had songs like Sledgehammer
yeah.
In Your Eyes and things like that. And I saw a video of Harry Styles performing Sledgehammer on Howard Stern. And he was talking about like how much he loves that song, and he states he thinks it's one of the best mixed songs ever. And that they would blast that song in the big room. It's one of the rooms in the studio. And apparently all the artists who go perform there play Sledgehammer there, even though that's not where So was recorded.
No, it's Peter Gabriel's, therefore you must play Sledgehammer.
Yeah. But it brought to mind, so Sledgehammer is a wonderfully mixed.
It's a banger.
Yep. That album, So, is that on this list?
Of course.
Because that might be one of the best mixed albums.
It'll be top 100.
Yeah. Good album.
Peter Gabriel had this reemergence last year, it seemed. Around this time, around winter last year, for some reason, it's like everybody I knew, especially all these young cats I was playing with, we're suddenly listening to him, covering him. I feel like I saw him on social media a little bit. Not Peter, but like,
Yeah.
the same way the skateboarding, Cran Ocean Juice dude brought Dreams back, and therefore Fleetwood had this little pop.
Right.
For something happened, and Peter Gabriel kind of had this little puff for about 45 days, it seemed, last year. And rightfully so. Rediscovering old music is one of the beauties of life.
I agree.
And, is he a god tier artist or writer? I'm not sure. Is his sound absolutely iconic? Yes, it is.
For sure. And we might talk about Peter Gabriel later in this episode.
I wouldn't be surprised. You know who did the best Sledgehammer cover?
Ooh, who do you think?
Our girl Morgan James.
No doubt. Yes.
Slays. Y'all, you want a deep cut? Catch us offline for this one. Morgan James. Go watch her Sledgehammer.
Yeah. Harry was no slouch on the Howard Stern show either.
Nah, he did pretty well.
Yeah.
He did pretty well.
So,
Go ahead.
Just one last thing, getting on this list. We've talked about the list. Maybe we teased the list a little bit. Harry's actually proud of being on this list. It's actually in his Spotify bio.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's so easy to like poo-poo somebody else's list, but I mean, if I copped a top 500 all-time on Rolling Stone, you better bet I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've committed the next decade of our lives to this idea. And, Rolling Stone, get at us. If you want to talk, you want to collaborate, you want to drop some opinions in, we'd love to hear from you.
We would.
In the meantime, I'd love to get into the content of this album.
Sure. Should we take a break?
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to talk about our longtime sponsor, Harold's Haggis Hemorrhoid Cream. Look, I try not to get too personal on here, but I've been using Harold's for about 6 months now, and honestly, it's been a game changer. I used to dread sitting, airplane seats, hardwood chairs, even soft couches. I perched like a sodomized lemur, but not anymore. So I'm really excited to announce their new formulation called Harold's Highland Chill. The original was already great and weirdly effective. Haggis-based, hand-stirred, developed during a fever dream in the Scottish Highlands. The original scent is difficult to describe. It's kind of like, I don't know, if despair had a gravy. All Highland Chill formulations now contain menthol, which is a great addition to the aromatic profile. Highland Chill comes in 3 strengths, all with fantastic infusion. Level 1 is THC. It's just enough to take the edge off the burn and make sitting through your cousin's open mic feel like a spiritual retreat. Level 2, MDMA. I tried this one time and developed a real intimate bond with my hydraulic drum throne. And level 3 is PCP for the fully prolapsed. My buddy tried this before a long road trip. He woke up in Reno hugging a traffic cone. He swears the inflammation's completely gone. The only downside are his 3 slipped discs from trying to be a carjack after getting a flat. But hey, don't just take it from me. Here's Angus McCracken, one of their first customers. I went full PCP level, I rubbed it on with the care of a priest wrapping a sacred toe bone. About 20 minutes later, I was legging it through a petting zoo, like the sky itself was falling, and that's where I met Bert, the llama. He was a tall, judgy beast with a look that said he knew things about me that I'd forgotten. We locked eyes. Next thing we're rolling around in the straw, grappling like 2 fallen angels fighting for the last bit of grace. Oh, I lost badly. But when I came to, the pain was gone. Hemorrhoids vanished. Clean as a whistle. I questioned whether that were Harold's cream or Bert. I didn't care, but something in me changed that day. Something deep. So once again, thanks to Harold's Haggis Hemorrhoid Cream. Now with Highland Chill. Try it today.
All right. So, getting into this album, you open up on a song titled Golden.
You do.
Thoughts on Golden?
It's a nice 2-chord song.
That's what I was going to say as well. I think it's actually as strong as opener as you want.
Mm-hmm.
Because this album, if you look at it as a whole, and you wouldn't know this listening for your first song, there's all sorts of terrain that you're about to navigate. It's nice to kind of set like a baseline.
I would agree.
Like you're starting, 60 feet above sea level. It will not stay here, but this is a nice way to kind of get your ear tuned for the project.
Yeah, it's a really nice song. And hearing a little bit of something harmonically. There's nothing harmonic in here. It's a 2-chord song.
It's a 2-chord song.
It's C and D.
Yep.
But I'm like, I couldn't quite figure out what I was hearing. So I watched the live version, and Harry's playing guitar on it. And what it is in the guitar, he's playing the C and D in second inversion. He has the G in the bass
Just
on the C
a little
chord.
bit of a different invert.
Yeah. I'm like, why does this sound more sophisticated than it is?
Because he has a killer producer behind him.
Well, there's
that's
that
why.
too.
Or arranger, actually. His mystery man guitar player we'll talk about later. I will attribute a lot of credit to.
And then harmonically, when they're singing the backgrounds, right? They're harping on the major 7th to the 6th, right? When they're
You know what it reminds me of?
Yeah.
It reminds me of the same kind of. It's like they pulled influences from America.
Okay.
The band America. Think like Ventura Highway, right? Like there was just like this really cool brightness, and it's the 6th that really did it for me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it sounds like kind of mid to newer Coldplay production.
We'll talk about Coldplay later in this album too.
I bet we will.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's definitely a lot of. They're pulling from the right pools. I
Yeah.
mean, America and Coldplay, no slouches, right?
No.
Uh,
It's a good song.
yeah, I have no problems with this song whatsoever, especially as a kickoff.
And isn't that generous of us to not have problems?
For us, yeah, I'd say it's almost kissing a billion listens, which is darn good. If you look at, Watermelon Sugar, the most popular song on the album by a long run, which this is not a spoiler alert.
Right.
If you live on this earth, which is almost 3 billion. The first song on any album gets that listen bump.
Yep.
Because it's literally the first song. So I think this one has earned its almost 1 billion.
I would
Dreams
agree.
is a 2-chord song too. We're kind of in a world right now where like the major 4-1 progression for songs is really doing a lot of work in the pop place as well. Right. This is not that.
But what's cool about this is it's C major and D major.
Yeah.
What key is the song in?
Oh man.
No keys. Is it flat 7-1?
Yeah, and they made it sound pretty.
Yeah.
You can make the argument it's like a really effed up A minor. Like
right. That's why I wonder if the inversions are playing into it. Now the bass line is not stock. It's all 8th notes and it's humping the roots.
Yeah.
But
they sing over it beautifully.
Yeah.
It's everybody's kind of floating,
Mm-hmm.
It's treated like the whole song is the 6th.
yeah. I mean the bass does move up to the E for like a split second.
And that's your point right there.
Yeah.
Great tune.
Yeah.
Listen to it. You can't miss it. It's the first tune.
Good song.
Walks you into the song that put this album on the map, which is Watermelon Sugar. As I mentioned, almost 3 billion billion listens.
Yes. Again, a great pop tune.
This one's more complex.
Okay.
This song scales with instrumentation over the course of the song. Starts off with this really nice sounding, crisp studio. It's like not quite a slapback, but not quite a plate thing going on. Mm-hmm. Minimal instrumentation, really clear and clean guitar. And as each element comes in, it's actually super enjoyable. I cover this song because I have to, right? Like,
Yeah.
and the more I listen to it, the more I'm like, the layering is really cool. The way that the song builds is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crazy about the lyrics or anything like that. Almost everything on this album's a love song, or I miss you, or I feel for you. It's almost all emotionally directed relationship songs towards a person, right?
Yep.
So if you can get over that piece of it, you have a really fun instrumentation order that drops in here.
Yeah, I agree. I want to start talking about the production because this album is fantastically produced.
Yes, indeed.
Everything is sonically aligned and they're using all of the tools.
Literally.
Sometimes all at once, but
if it's in there, they're playing with it.
yeah. Now, one of the tools they use heavily on this album is autotune.
Sure. Not to T-Pain effect.
No, yeah. So I think it's worth talking about it because this is the first album that we've talked about that we get into this. We've talked about it a little bit in other episodes, but this is the first album that we're to address it, right? And so
I think it's the most modern album we've looked at,
correct.
right? I mean, 2019, but also like being dead center pop. I mean, we know who he keeps company with on the charts,
Right.
you know?
So yeah, auto-tune. Auto-tune used just to correct pitch,
Sure.
right? Used as an instrument like T-Pain,
Yep.
right? And used as an effect.
I was going to say, this is the latter.
Correct.
He's a good enough singer acoustic. I've seen enough of his content.
He doesn't need auto-tune.
Precisely. And the best singers on a day need a little bump here and there.
Yeah.
This is auto-tune as an effect.
It is. And I'm going to talk about it probably a couple more times on this, and we'll get into it. It takes me out of some of it, specifically on the like horn solely da 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 da. Like,
Yeah.
actually, that's in Adore You. Sorry, I don't like the auto-tune in that part of it
Okay.
either. Yeah,
Adore
sorry,
You.
that's in Adore You.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because we are using all of the effects. And to me, I think about these things and I think about like, what does that do sometimes to the longevity of a song and putting it in its place? And we'll talk about it more later when we get further
Oh,
down.
I see where this is going now based upon what you asked me to listen to earlier.
Yeah.
But think about it. I mean, it's a sound, right? We talked about the Spectre wall of sound, right? Like, what defines an era? Listen to Tears for Fears. Listen to a song like Shout. Listen to that snare drum, right?
Right.
We know how that was created, this crazy gated, Uber 80s snare. Auto-tune will be looked at the same way, especially this version of it, right? Because we were long past the time of like Cher's Do You Believe in Life After Love auto-tune.
Right.
This is its moment. I mean, talk about a singer who doesn't need it and knows how to use it to an effect perfectly is Ariana Grande.
Yep.
Freakish.
Yeah. Do we talk about it off air about the YouTube video of her comping her vocals?
We watched it after one of our podcasts and sat here and had a beer, and we were both just like jaws on the floor.
Incredible.
She knows how to work the machine. I have a feeling he knows how to work the machine. I think he works it it's not offending me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it probably is rubbing you, itching you a little.
Yep.
Is what it seems.
A little bit. We'll talk about it more, but
Fair enough.
I mean,
What do you think about the arrangement of the song?
I agree with everything you said. I think it's well like laid out. It's a progression as you
That's
get through
right.
the song. They don't reveal their hand. I mean, they reveal their hand in the very first song as to what we're about to get, or at least what we think we're going to get. And this song is like, all right, now here's the realization of what you
reinforces it,
thought
Yeah.
what you're going
Moose
to get.
Bouche tastes like the appetizer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. Catchy as hell.
Indeed, but the details in this are what are catching up with me. That riff on the second verse is gnarly.
Yep.
That descending scale, but it's like a tripled guitar bass synth thing. Mm-hmm. It's the strawberries.
Yep.
And it's like real and dragged a little bit.
Yeah.
Every time they say hi, there's like a bent guitar chord that's going on. Like the attention to detail here, I slept on so hard.
Yeah, it's
until
impeccable.
My
Yeah.
last 2 or 3 listens. And I sound like such a fanboy right now. It's not Harry I'm fanboying over. I don't. His words mean nothing to me. His image, his style, and him personally mean nothing to me. But whoever's arranging this music and producing the musicians behind this, and then he'll get a compliment. His willingness to let them do that and not make it only about him is why I'm celebrating this.
Yeah. I mean, the production should definitely be celebrated. This song, is going to come across all the times on this. This is a fantastic song. Probably my least favorite on the album.
I wouldn't call it my least favorite, but it's a bubblegum song.
Right. Yes, and that's why it's not the song that I will gravitate to.
Yeah. I'll
Listen
tell you
to this.
the element, one more thing on this before we leave it. The element I missed ever hearing is there's an entire brass section thing that comes in at the end.
Right.
I never like
All the tricks.
it keeps building and building.
Yeah.
Great.
No, it is really a good song. I think when I say it's my least favorite, I'm not saying I don't like it. It's my least favorite.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
man, something to come then.
Right.
Rolls us into song number 3.
Adore You, which I love 10 times more than Watermelon Sugar.
God, I love this song.
Yeah.
I knew this and Watermelon Sugar coming into this. That's it. That's the only 2 songs I'd heard, and I couldn't have told you what Adore You was. I could tell you Watermelon Sugar because like
You could miss it.
and there's something about Watermelon Sugar, like you can't miss the title in the hook. And though Adore You's in the hook here, this is more a melodic thing.
Right.
But God, the Vaporwave M83 revisited 80s.
The underwater effect.
That's right.
Yeah.
With like the highs rolled off.
Yep.
Dope feel.
So I meant to pull it up. I still don't know the producer name. Oh, yeah. So Kid Harpoon, Tyler Johnson, Greg Kirsten, and Jeff. Oh, I don't know his last name. I'm going to bastardize it. Bashker, I believe his last name is. I believe that EQ is an instrument on this album.
Just like autotune.
Yeah. Yep.
It has to be. I mean, so as a guy who's done, I've DJ'd like a bunch of like weddings and like school events, like the high school proms and stuff. I am not, let me reiterate one more time, not a DJ. I'm just a dude who has the gear and does it. But it is its own instrument. Because like that's what those knobs are. It's all filtering.
Yep.
And it's
high pass,
amazing.
low pass.
Absolutely. It's amazing what just those tools alone can do to textures.
Yeah.
This is such a cool version of it.
Yeah.
It sounds fantastic.
So I mentioned technical jargon, high pass, low pass. Can you describe what that is to the uninitiated?
If you were to take sound as a whole, right? The way that we interpret sound in stereo. The best way to describe that, if you're not hip to it, is you have 2 ears. And the idea is, take your fingers and rub them next to your right ear and move that across your face to your left ear. You probably just heard it pass my microphone. And you'll hear the panning, the movement in stereo. Mm-hmm. And this is how we have 3D situational awareness. We can hear where a sound came from, right? Because we have 2 ears to track it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if we only had 1 ear, the ability to only hear out of one side of our head, we'd be hearing in mono. But even then, you would know left versus right. Mm-hmm. The idea to think of mono is like stick an ear at the top of your head or something like that, right? With that said, we can hear in different frequencies, high to low. High being, scratchy, hissy sounds like old school tubes in a TV would make, right? Mm-hmm. The hiss of something in your house, like water. Low being a thundering roar, a metro train going under you. The ability to play with high and low sounds, not high and low volume, not loud and soft, but that range.
Yep.
For the person who does not think about that, this is what makes music cool now. We spend a lot of money in my studio. After I finish recording songs and we write something great, we send it to somebody who then manipulates those factors. Mm-hmm. And though we have access to really, really great people, he has access to better.
Right. Yeah. That was perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Because we talk jargon on here sometimes, and I want to make sure that we're...
It should be accessible, but this is the next level. If you ever thought, what is it to have an audio degree? Mm-hmm. You're looking at... There's a train. You're looking at all these factors.
Would you put a high pass filter over that train?
If I did, it would sound very different.
Yes, it would.
Yeah. Also, we hear the train different than you will because the microphone's only capable of picking up such frequencies.
Yeah. One thing in Adore You that we both grooved on, because we don't listen to the album together, but we do start the show by just refreshing our ears.
Yeah.
It's the one drop.
Oh, yeah, the one drop. Coming off of that, the second phrase in the verse, the band just simply doesn't play on beat 1. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, pause. And it's amazing how much silence speaks.
Right.
No symbol, no fancy thing into it, just simply silence highlights the next phrase.
Yeah. Silence is a tool. Fantastic.
It's just a beautiful soundscape. And this is why I wasn't hip to the Grammy nomination for immersive album experience. This song is a really great example of ambiance set up.
Yeah.
Because there's every musician's kind of in their place. Every puzzle piece is there. Everybody's in the right seat. And Harry's doing his role perfectly. He's mixed into this thing. He's not out front screaming a message at you. He's kind of just another layer of instrumentation.
Yeah. With all that production done, again, this is a hot auto-tune one for me. And I think I would love to see this live. Not that they don't use auto-tune live, but
no,
it's
I'm
not
sure
to this
there's
extent.
a cut of this somewhere.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
like to cover it on acoustic.
Yeah,
I
it's a
feel
good
like
song.
that'd be a fun cover. Yeah, this song is a top notcher on the album for me.
Yeah, and it's the first one that teases a guitar solo but doesn't deliver it.
Yeah. Well,
There's a couple on here.
They're
that do
doing
that.
a good job of blending a lot of digital elements and then a lot of, analog like actual players versus, digital stuff in the box type players. Great tune. And up until this point in the album, best tune on the album so far.
Yeah.
Moving us to song number 4, Lights Up.
This one, so I say Watermelon Sugar is probably my least favorite. I'm probably being harsh here. This actually is the one that probably does the least for me.
Yeah.
It feels like a fairly standard pop tune. To get to that weird sort of pre-chorus thing I was asking you about, where it gets rhythmically kind of interesting.
It gets rhythmically ambiguous.
Yeah.
It also doesn't start off very strong as a pop. It kind of has this odd intro thing going on.
Yeah.
It doesn't just like click into place like the others.
Yep.
It doesn't make it a bad strong, but my notes were interesting structure. The vocals are everywhere.
They are.
They have these walls of vocalists. Kind of, if you were to close your left ear and listen to just the right ear on the headphones, you're hearing one part. If you do the same other side, you're hearing a whole different part. I mean, this song was about saturation a little bit.
Yep. And again, last thing I'm going to talk about the auto-tune because I don't want to sound like an old man yelling at clouds. So here's my take on this for this. I think about it in sort of two mindsets because I don't want to come across as that I'm not hip to it at all. But the other day,
You know how I know you're not hip to it?
because I said hip.
Sorry. Keep
Got
going.
it.
Please.
Yeah. Would I be? Never mind. I'll not go there.
I've used that term today, I'm pretty sure, on air.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Never mind. I was going to go all Gen Alpha here for a minute, but I'm not going to do that. Anyway, the other day I was making dinner. I was making a turkey ragu, which requires some rosemary. I love me some rosemary. But you can go too strong with the rosemary.
Yeah.
And I objectively went heavy-handed with the rosemary. It's not that so I like rosemary, but too much rosemary is too much rosemary. And that's where you're feeling me being a little bit salty. It's just, to me, it's just a little too much rosemary
The line was drawn here.
Yes. For these first 4 songs, really. I mean, it exists later on the album. It's all over the album. But these first 4 songs, they hit me there. And then I started thinking, so why is this bothering me?
Okay.
Right? Because who gives a shit?
Right.
Right? And because people have been, I don't think autotune's innovative. It's just a tool,
Yeah.
right? Like distortion on a guitar, it's just a tool.
Good comparison.
Right? So why does it bother me? And again, I think it's just to my ear, it's just a little bit too much. But then I started thinking about, we talked about using the tools of the day, and all of the tools are at play in this production. And then I started thinking of older songs, older bands, older music. Like, I don't have a problem when the Beatles were innovating on Sgt. Pepper and they were experimenting and things like that. Of course, they were experimenting.
He didn't speak out against Yoko Ono.
Well, she didn't really have a bad influence on that album.
Yeah, sure. Not for
Right.
Pepper. You're right.
Right. But then I started moving towards era where I was younger, right in the 80s, and In Excess had a massive album in 1987 called Kick.
Yep.
And that album has all of the tools of the day on that album.
No expense spared. It's all there.
Yes, exactly. It was the gated snare. You talked about gated snare for days. That album, it's funny. I kind of lied, but because I was listening to this album with my kids. We were in a car, like a road trip or something like that. And it came on. I'm like, oh, let's just listen to the album. I'm like, there's like 11 songs in here. Like 9 of them are hits. Well, 9 of them weren't hits, but they almost all the songs.
Everything's a hit to you, baby.
Right.
If you grew up with the album, everything's a hit to you.
Right. Well, this was an album that I owned. It was just in the ether.
Okay.
Like the hits were the hits, and they had actually it sold 6 million copies to this album, and I would wonder how many 25-year-olds even know about this album.
Yeah.
Right. It was a huge album. It was everywhere. Like I said, even the non-hits were on the radio. It was everywhere for a period of time. Now, some of that, I think, has to do. Is it time to address monoculture?
Yeah.
Right? Because Harry Styles is in the era of no monoculture.
Indeed.
Right? Where In Excess was definitely monoculture for sure. We didn't have the internet at all. Right? Only the military had it and some colleges. And we got our information through a very narrow set of channels, right?
Yep.
Handful of TV stations, MTV, right, was the big purveyor.
But mainly like friend's older brother who knew better. Like was like the more reliable source than anything.
Right. So that may have contributed to the scope of what Kick was.
Of course.
Now, Kick is a great album.
I listened to it the other day per your request.
Right, because I wanted to talk about that because it's drenched in the tools of the day.
It is the same way we're looking at right here.
It is. So that brought me back to center. Like when I was listening to that, when I was thinking about that album, I'm like, okay, so why am I old man yelling at clouds? I'm not. It's just they're just the gated snare on In Excess isn't great.
No, very few of them are.
Right? But when I was a drummer at that time, I didn't know it was an effect. I'm like, how do I make my snare sound like this? And I would break my drum heads, hitting the shit out of my snare drum. Like it doesn't...
Detuning them
Yeah.
in ways they were never meant to be used.
Right, hydraulic heads. Like it was everything.
Don't even start any of those things.
So anyway, bring us back to center. You did listen to Kick.
I did.
What... Do you now you see why I asked you what your thoughts
indeed,
on that?
but it's Kick is a fully produced, is how I'm going to call it, not overproduced. Mm-hmm. It is a fully produced album. People were using the best tools at the time to make a sound that was new and fun and different and exciting. Mm-hmm. It achieved that, and there was some cat who only listened to Steely Dan who hated that shit.
Yep,
and he was sitting across from his friend Carl, yelling at clouds.
Right,
but he wasn't as open-minded as you and willing to think about this and then talk about it later.
Right.
And
thank you.
That you are, because you've walked yourself through this process. And frankly, I mean, let's be clear, this is not going to be by any means the last time we're going to run over. I mean, this is modest auto-tune in comparison to some of the stuff we're about to listen to.
For sure. And again, I'm not hating on it. Like I said, I put it in the categories.
Yeah.
Right.
And when auto-tune was, so like when Melodyne 1 dropped.
Yep.
I was a hater for a second. Like when it all came out, like I was just like, get good. Like, where's your performance ethic, right? And I think it's just worn me down over time, and now I hear it. I accept it like so naturally. And as a guy who runs a studio and produces people, I've relied on it. I've cleaned a lot of stuff up. Not singers only, by the way. You can slap this on crap guitar parts too.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Trumpet, thank God. Like there's so much you can do with it.
Yeah, if a guitar player grabbing too hard on the frets and it's out of tune.
And here's the buoy I will leave us with before we take a break is, if used poorly and overused, you you actually you drop yourself out of contention. You're not even part of this list. We're not talking about you.
Yeah.
Right? This is not an example of somebody who's overused it. This is used as an effect and used properly on a guy who can sing. And it's a modern sounding track.
It is. And my feelings on it are literally just me reconciling some of that. To your point on Melodyne coming out, it was the same thing. Why can't you just sing? The Ronettes didn't need auto-tune. The Beach Boys didn't need auto-tune. Just learn to fucking sing. Was my take on that initially. I'm a changed man.
Yeah. I felt the same way for a little bit.
Yeah.
No, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to be. And this is just coming from someone who has to sit down and sing in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
But, if I'm listening back to my track and I don't like it, I'm tuning that. You just won't hear it. I'll be a sneaky, sneaky tune.
Yeah.
Couple notes on this tune real quick before we move on. I think the reason that the autotune feels very prevalent here is because it's actually the more kind of like hip hop R&B sound. There's no acoustic drum or bass in this one at all.
Right.
Whereas in the others, you felt like you could find some more organic elements. This one truly does feel very digital, and I think that the tuning pairing goes so far that we get this like flanger effect over the vocals often in this tune. That's I think spoke to both of us.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. Yeah. We asked if it was a flanger or phaser that's being on the
You know how hard it is to use that appropriately? I applaud the effort here.
Yeah.
Of this kind of first four little, nugget of pure pop, this is my least favorite song of the four.
Yeah.
But it is the opening and what I would call, even though it's not mathematically correct, the first half of the album.
Yeah. I would agree with you. And I think we have a pivot song before we get into the second album, but the second half, but I agree. I think the next song is that pivot song that bridges the gap quite nicely, actually, between the first half and second song.
Do you want to take a break or do you want to walk into the pivot?
Let's take a break.
Sounds good.
Hey, see this guy?
The mime? Yeah, he looks pretty serious.
What's he doing?
Pastor says
Looks like he's rubbing his stomach. Now he's pointing at his crotch. All right.
He's pretending to eat something. Like, really going at it. A lot of tongue work.
Yeah, a lot of tongue work. All right. He's smiling, giving a thumbs up, still rubbing his stomach.
I think I know what he's doing. It's got to be edible Vagisil.
You think? Yeah. Like, what else could it be? Like, what else soothes and satisfies like that?
Right? No irritation, just a light berry finish.
It's delicate and daring.
Yeah, I respect it. He's saying so much without saying a word.
That's right. Edible Vagisil. Mime tested and mime approved.
Think about it. You don't spit. And we're back. 10:54 p.m. on a beautiful Wednesday night. We are in the middle of the change of weather in Maryland. It was 63 degrees today. And then I got a text from the National Weather Service saying there will be insane winds, which we have been witnessing. And also it fell off like 23 degrees. And then I looked at the weather and now our nights will be like freeze. Like we might have a snow event on Friday.
That'd be fun. I'm ready for that.
Yes.
I'm of the era that when it would snow, we bring our sleds to school.
That's sick.
Yeah. We didn't have snow days. We eventually had snow days, but
You're a Northeasterner though.
that's true.
So, or a Northerner. It's different when you have that kind of that blood. But yeah, we're there. We're in the transition from fall to winter, and it's crazy to think about that it's already here.
It is. And we're also at a transition in the album.
We are indeed. I love a transitional moment. Cherry, song number 5.
Did you ever see the movie Into the Wild? It was based on a book.
I read the book. I did not see the movie. The book, is insane, and he's Michael, or what's his?
Christopher Candless.
Christopher, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember reading it and thinking at the same time, man, he's so brave, and he's also an incredible pompous idiot.
Both things are true.
Indeed.
Both
You're
things
allowed
are
to be
true.
both.
So in, I think 2007, there's a fantastic movie made on the book, and Eddie Vedder did the soundtrack, and I love the soundtrack of that movie. And
Because it's the sound of Chris just chewing on things and not opening his mouth in the wilderness, or
no. So what is the instrument that starts Cherry?
is it a mandolin?
Right. So there's
Yeah.
some mandolin
Okay.
in there, and the soundtrack for Into the Wild, there's a lot of mandolin. This is Eddie Vedder being a little bit more folky, but not really. There's some stuff in there, and so it immediately brought me to that soundtrack, and I really like this transitional point of the album. This song feels like an interlude to get you ready for part 2.
Yes. Well, you get a more traditional indie is where I'm going to go with this.
Bon Iver,
Yeah.
Blood Bank.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go there.
Yeah.
I'll go there. That's fair.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a different approach than you've heard, and acoustic album forward, super saturated, double vocals, maybe tripled, long held theme. Once again, Harry's not the star. This isn't about Harry. This song is about a moment. It's the whole thing sounds like it's captured on film.
Yeah, he's serving the song very well. I also hear it a bunch on this album, but this is the first place where it really sticks out to me that because he's singing his lower register here, so I'm getting Beck,
I am, but
like
with
Golden Age or Sea
significantly
Change.
better tonality.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
vibe and timbre.
I'm for me, this one still punches more to the indie corner of things, like plain white teasy. But yeah. One way or another, I think we both agree, massive shift in the energy on this album. In fact, if you started the album here, you could just make an EP out of this and some other select songs and have a very cohesive little album.
Yeah, it actually makes me a little sad because I asked you, like, what's the turd on this album, right? And it was, what was the number? It was like 200 million or something like that.
Yeah.
So the second half of this album is certainly well listened to, but I really like the second half of this album.
Sure.
I like the first half, but the second half speaks to me.
There's a lot to celebrate. I don't think there would be an album without the first half, right? Like you had to get that pop stuff out.
For sure.
And they did it beautifully. And so now he gets to do a thing.
Yeah.
And it makes me, I'll tell you what, it makes me want to follow up and listen. And I've leaked into the other album because what'll happen is I'll put this thing on Spotify and it'll just
When
roll
the sushi
tape.
song comes on or whatever.
And before you know it, you're into some of his other content and like-minded artists. And I like who he's being paired with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll roll me into like Leon Bridges songs, and I'm like, okay, like I like this.
I kept getting songs off the album Sob Rock by John Mayer.
Yeah, that's on that '80s production note we were talking about earlier,
Yep.
which you'll never hurt me putting on John Mayer, but like,
Not at all. And he was swinging for the 80s on that album.
oh yeah, I mean, you can look at every bit of it.
The album cover with the clearance picture, sticker on it or whatever.
All leather jacket.
Yeah.
Stonewashed jeans, the pink guitars, it's all there.
Yeah.
Last Train Home video, the wind blown everything. Maren Morris jumps in on that one. It's just nutty, dude.
Yeah.
He knows what he was doing. But this tune strikes a chord, ha ha ha, where you get acoustic instruments right up front, first time.
Yep.
It sounds indie, it sounds folksy. It sounds super approachable. The vocal production is still very high end, but you're not getting nearly as much obvious effect.
Yeah.
And the whole thing kind of takes a turn.
I feel like the effect serves the song better, in my opinion, on this.
Yeah, it's heavily like a reverb based.
He's just doubling his
Play.
voice too, right? He's got the octave down below.
Well, he's probably tripling, yeah,
Right,
because
yeah.
you have two "Don't You Call Me Babies" and that timbre, and then one that's dropped.
Yep.
The other thing about Harry, I'll point out right now, which is just an overall note on this album, is he's so happy to share the vocal space with people who aren't him. God, if there's one thing I'm so tired of as a guy who literally produces music, is all these singers who are so afraid to relinquish their harmonies and vocals to anybody but them. PSA, a choir of people who are just you sounds like trash. The idea of chorus and choir, bring other voices in. The imperfection is perfection.
Do we need the More You Know sound to come in after that?
Yeah, like it should be.
I agree. It can be used nicely.
I'm not talking about his vocal double. I'm saying
Yeah.
but when you make a wall of you, no one cares, guys.
Right.
No one's impressed. Root third, fifth. Wow, you did it. Get out of here, man. It's more about
The
having
diversity adds seasoning.
literally everything.
Yeah.
And he leans heavily on female singers too, which is awesome. If look no further than, did you ever see his NPR Tiny Desk concert?
Yeah.
He's just like, that's who he rolls in a sweater with like 3 chicks, and he's like, here we go, here's some songs.
Yeah.
I feel very vulnerable. And you're like, all right,
Sweater
man.
and 3
It's been a while since I watched it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I took back from it. I remember being like, all right, way to go, you.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about him at that time.
Yeah.
Anything else about this one?
No, let's move on. I
Cool.
love it.
All right, we move into song number 6, Falling.
I have no problems with a song like this. This song to me is Coldplay meets John Legend with a sprinkle of Kings of Leon.
That's so funny. That me, this song is an Adele ballad.
I could have gone there too.
I'd love to hear how you got to yours.
Well, the soundscape is Coldplay.
Sure. A lot of it is on this album.
Yep. And the vocal performance eventually gets to not as like virtuosic as John Legend in All of Me, but there's an All of Me vibe when he's hitting the falling part.
Yes, agreed. I mean, this is definitely one of the only songs on the album where like they're trying to frame him as like a lead. Like, look at the singer, look at the singer, look at the singer, right?
He does great on it too.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a good singer by all measures. He's not, I'm like, choking on my tongue fantastic, but there's no flaws to mention.
He's not
here.
John Legend.
And even John Legend in that realm probably doesn't want to riff against the best of them.
Correct.
Like he's a fantastic, fantastic artist. But this to me, like, I didn't look up the songwriters, but like if this wasn't shopped to an Adele adjacent person,
Right.
like this was to the T, piano part and all. It was
It's
just
that
that
formula.
kind of that formula, that format, that soundscape, and I don't mind it. This you dropped your ballad in the center of the album. Good for you.
Yeah, and this is a great, very emotional breakup song.
Yep. The hook is very good. Like that's to me like, all right, someone nailed this.
Yeah, it hits in the feels very well.
Yeah. For me, it's not my favorite song on the album. I just don't have the patience.
I just have a weakness for songs like this. That's all.
Oh wow, good.
Yeah, more sensitive than you think.
Don't see eye to eye.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, my skipper on the album might be this one.
yeah, and I mentioned this as a breakup song, and I'd like to tease something that we've talked about.
Oh, we're doing this.
Should we talk about
Yeah,
that?
man. Well, you've already like shown them the egg. You have to crack it now.
All right. So we reviewed the album "Here, My Dear" by Marvin Gaye, which is a breakup album, and we had some feelings on that album. And I was talking with Carl, and I don't want the listeners to think that we're not emotional beings. So I came up with the idea of side content where we're going to come up with our top song with some runner-ups from the 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way up to today. Breakup song of each decade.
Era, yeah, decade.
Yep. And
it's such a fun list so far.
yeah, and this one could very well fall onto that list in some ways. I have a different song for this specific time period.
2020s. Or
2019.
He's 2010s, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the 2010s. So I have a different song for this one, which I'll say fight me on it. But I could see this being a contender.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fine song. You
Yeah.
will get no. I don't really have anything to put against
Yeah.
it. This is just this style of music fails to grasp. me.
Yeah, I get a little rubbery on songs like this sometimes.
That's fine.
That's
yeah.
it. What am I gonna say?
Rubber it up, bro.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Be So Lonely.
Should I ask you the question? Or you ask me the question.
You asked me the question.
All right. What time is the song in?
It's in 4.
Is it?
Yeah, it's counted 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, just like the Brubeck.
Well, right. So it rounds out to 8.
It rounds out to straight up 8. It's in
but
4.
but there's a bit of a 2/3 feel to it.
No, the question about it, and that's the beauty. It's clearly in 4. They're laying heavily into triplet patterns and squaring it out at the end.
Because you could count this in 3/4/5/4, 3/4/5/4. Because the question is, because there's a bass drum like a downbeat, which would be either on beat 4 if you're counting 4/4 or beat 1.
Indeed.
And then it rounds out at beat 5. So it feels, so the cool thing about
That's
it
your
is,
drummer brain speaking, though. See, you're looking for the bass drum.
right. So the question is, and you can feel it however you want, right? Because the feel definitely, they hit that thing on beat 4.
Yeah.
Whether that's beat 4 or beat 1, who cares? Yeah. But there's definitely, it's cool.
I'm just saying it's like asking like what's the time signature for Corey Henry's solo and Lingus. It's 4.
It is 4.
But that ostinato feels anything but, right?
Right.
And this is one of those situations which I was thrilled to hear something that far out of a box on the same album that had Watermelon Sugar.
Right.
Which I can actually no longer poo-poo as like basic, because it's not. Like Golden is way more basic, right? Yeah, no, this is a fun song to listen to. And deserved, by the way. If you were to cap this album and start it at sorry, I'm for a loss. Start the album at Cherry and call it just a mini album. What a crazy song 3 with this would be.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I love it. I love the feel of it. Is there a muted viola in this song?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I had cello, but yes, whatever it might be, there's like
it's in that range.
There's just some sort of cool string thing going on, and I can't sing the praises enough. I know I sound like I'm fanboying, but like this is a really good arrangement and production thing.
Yeah.
And whether Harry chose it or Harry stayed out of it, applause either way.
Yeah.
Because such cool musical things are happening here. Anybody would want to sing over this.
Yeah, it's good.
There's this band called, is it the Epics or the Epochs? I don't know how you say EPOCH. And they are no more. They have one album on the Spotify. I got their album because, little known fact, my father ran this crazy concert hall in Rockville, Maryland for years. And people would send in boxes of CDs to try and get ways to play there. And my brother and I would be able to tear through them and listen to them. And we had some really crazy ones. Like St. Paul and the Broken Bones sent an album in. We got a Wolfpack album out of this thing.
Wow.
I've gotten crazy CDs that there's been sent out. And I just kicked my mic. This one band always stuck with me, and I've made you listen to them before. This had every bit of their vibe. And I don't know what you call this genre, but I'll show you after the recording today. It just struck me as that. Fun music, sophisticated music on a top 500 pop album.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Great. Oh, here it is.
Here we go.
Here it is. She.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Number 1 for me.
Yeah, it's mine too. Pick of the album.
Yep. And what's nice is, given that the other song is in 3/4 and 5/4, this one's in a 3 feel.
Yeah. I see what you did there, sir.
Now, the debate on that is whatever the debate is. It's not even a debate. It's
3,
just a
6, 8, 4. You call it you want.
Right. It's a 3 feel. Yeah, 6/8 or 12/8,
Yeah.
which How many songs about dreams are in 6/8?
Plenty.
Yeah, I've got Dreams to Remember, Dream a Little Dream,
Oh, dream a little dream.
right? Rainbow Connection.
Dream On is not, unfortunately.
Dream On is not, no.
Sorry, I'm still pushing for a couple here.
Yeah.
And the Fleetwood is not, unfortunately,
It's
either.
not. But Dreams, I'm talking about dreamers. And this is a song about a dreamer.
Indeed. That's a better way to put it, I think.
Yeah.
This is a better phrase there.
That's why I call it Rainbow Connection. Kermit the Frog's rocking.
God, this is just a bluesy R&B song.
It's fantastic.
And this one, I did the rare Carl thing, and it was like, okay, what the hell happened here? I have to know how this happened. Here is the secret weapon. This guy named Mitch Rolland.
Okay.
His acclaim is he only plays for Harry Styles. I was like, who the player on this? I swore up and down I would know who arranged this song. And because it sounded so, I wouldn't say familiar, but it was like, this is my bag. There's no way I don't know who's in this.
Well, it's got the No Diggity dominant.
Yeah, that does have that.
Right.
But I was like, I got to know something here. Now, last week when we caught up for a production meeting, I said, there's at least one name brand musician. I knew it because I went and looked it up. Do you want to figure out at least what instrument you would know the name on in this song? Because you didn't know the guitar player, Mitch Rolland.
No, I don't.
The bass player,
Okay.
Pino Palladino.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, yes, there it is.
Yeah.
And you can tell from the get. I was like, this is so familiar. It's smooth. He's just playing some root 5 octave stuff. So for those who are not familiar with Sir Pino, his most recent claim, and the reason him and Dan and I are smiling, is this is John Mayer's first phone call bass player at all times. But he's played with, come on, what was his big line? Was it Genesis or something like that? His style is like, he plays this fretless bass. He has no formal training.
Right.
He's super melodic, plays like this like chorus drippy 80s style, but has now become the go-to call pocket guy for just about anybody in the industry.
Yeah.
So much so that he had his own Tiny Desk concert alongside, it was like Pino and Nate Smith or Brian Blade or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, look up Pino Palladino. He's got his own Fender signature bass. He's one of the most sought after bass players in the industry. And sure enough, our boy Harry's got him on the track. And Pino sounds, he fills up the space in his own way.
Yeah.
On a song, by the way, where he's competing with other killer players.
Yeah. So we actually finally get a guitar solo on this.
Oh, talk about a guitar solo.
And is it a blue box? The octave pedal on that? There's like the Fool in the Rain guitar sound.
I couldn't tell you the exact effects, but whatever it is, it's not like crappy digital breakup.
No.
This is a really, really emotional, thick, like I said, it's a blues R&B song. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite listen on the album by far, and the production does not slip. It builds. And Harry essentially gives half the song away to his band to let them like just do a great thing.
Right. Like I said, they've teased guitar solos. We actually get one.
There's no ego on this album for him, honestly. He's just a player in a chorus. It feels like almost this entire album.
Yeah.
With the exception of maybe Fallen.
Yep.
Where it's meant to be him out front.
Right.
Any thoughts I missed on She?
I think you covered it. I just wanted to... I wanted to ask you the questions I asked you. I was curious about that guitar tone. Like I mentioned Fool in the Rain, the solo in Fool in the Rain, right? And that's where I think Jimmy Page is actually playing a blue box, like stomp box.
Yep.
Octave pedal with some fuzz on it. A couple times that makes an appearance on this album. It like, hey, here I am. Yeah. You get it here.
So the octaver... This gets a little dorky, so feel free to tune out for 2 minutes, kid.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Exactly. The octaver is getting paired a lot nowadays with synthesizers. It's just such a normal, beautiful pairing. And so as you look at modern synth, now I'm not talking, like actual modular synthesizers that you'd see in the 80s.
Right.
But, today, like, you look at people who are, like, bringing back the Juno. You look at groups like Chromeo and stuff, right? When you see synth, you see octavers a lot of the time, too. In fact, some octavers almost create a synth-like effect.
They do.
See no further than Michael League with a simple OC5 by Boss being able to play bass and vroom, 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 and it feels very synth-bassy. I'm not surprised to catch this. Also, you look at what guys like Jack White have done, where his copycat, which is I guess Dan Auerbach, right?
Yep.
And you start to hear, and Danger Mouse was using stuff like this too as a producer, where you hear these layers and you're like, is it guitar? Is it synth? It's breaking up. It's a little gritty. There's definitely multiple octave layers. This is a great example of a song where whatever he dialed in, whatever Mitch dialed in on this, sounds supreme.
Yeah. Have we said we like this song?
Oh, I fucking love this song.
All right. Should we move on to
Yes, sorry. Yeah, we got to make up for some time here. Yeah. Sunflower.
Volume 6?
Volume 6. Is there a volume 1 through 5 we've missed?
I wonder if there's like a deluxe version coming out.
All right. We're going to have to check this out.
Yep.
Give me your initial thoughts. I talked a lot.
Quirky.
Yeah, indeed.
Very quirky. I get Beck again.
You know what I get? They got this 16th note driven buka thing with a backbeat chord.
Yep.
Sounds very SoCal.
Okay.
White reggae. A la 311, a la Dirty Heads.
I was actually going to say sounds more like Magic.
Oh yeah, Magic Rude, yeah.
Yep.
Like that's that sound.
Yep.
You could Iration, Stick Figure, they all do that thing. 311 was first for the record, guys.
And probably the best.
Oh, by far.
Yep.
Chad Saxon on drums, come on. But that and with the you get this, it's a familiar sound. It's a sound of the late 90s, early 2000s with today's production.
Yeah, and they do that, and then we get into a pre-chorus where he brings out a soca rhythm.
Yes.
But it's subdued. Soca rhythm has been played to death for the past, 5 or so years in hip hop and
you guys
music,
may mistake it as what's called reggaeton.
Right.
Boom, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha. Ahsoka simply boom, cha, boom, cha, boom, cha, boom, cha.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's in there, but it's subdued. So he's tipping his hat, I think, or not tipping his hat at all, but it's keeping that current thing. It's still current. It's still happening. It's still in popular
Sure.
music.
I mean, and South America, it is the law.
Right.
We had a stint where I think, as you mentioned, hip hop, it was so prevalent.
Yeah.
They have so many cool instrumental things going on in this song.
The sitar, maybe.
I'm not convinced it's a sitar. It might be a sitar emulation pedal, but man, it's like wet and slidey and trebly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like on Jacob Collier's album where he actually has a sitar player.
Have you seen that video of her recording like in his little?
Yeah.
She's so insane.
Yeah.
Just go watch Jacob Collier. If you haven't figured this out by now, just go watch all the Jacob Collier albums or content. And then the other thing is there's like arpeggiators everywhere. Did you hear those? Like these like just like all over the place.
Yeah, they're the sunflowers.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
I like this song a lot.
I do too.
This song kisses the first 4 in the pop element with just so much creativity. To me, it's actually a signature song on the album. If you want to hear, you said, what's the best representation of the blend? This could be it for me.
Yeah. Is this like a Cabernet Malbec, put together?
I mean, I drink it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it definitely harkens back to the beginning of the album. But it's quirky.
It's a fun listen.
Yeah, it's
a
good
fun
song.
listen.
Yeah.
And it shows you how willing he is to kind of step outside of the box as a pop artist and not just get thrown into 9 more watermelon sugars.
Yeah.
When I say that, I think of that Mulaney bit. Nine more. What's up, pussycats?
Yep.
Cool. Let's touch on the last couple here.
Okay.
Canyon
Moon.
Moon.
Yep. All right. Do you want to say what this sounds like at first blush, or should
Yeah, it's
I?
Paul Simon.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like me and Julio.
Me and Julio. It's also Love the One You're With.
Oh yeah, totally. Love the one you're with.
Yep.
Yeah, I hear it.
Steven Stills. Yep.
It calls back, and I wonder. You have to wonder. Like, think about like the California Canyon bands.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some like intention here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Crosby, Stills, Nash. Mamas and the Papas.
Yeah, it's great. I really enjoy this.
It's light. It's fun. It feels lively and acoustic. You hear all the string noise. It's my notes is free, hippie, major fun song, great harmonies, not afraid to bring in females. And he has a fun whistling part.
It's got whistling.
And it feels like a Beatles arrangement. We were talking about this very briefly earlier.
Yeah, the I'm going home part. Like,
yeah, where it kind of descends.
Yeah, I've been struggling to figure out what it reminds me of. Not that this podcast is what do these songs remind Dan of all the time, but as you've probably...
You can't have that thought, though.
Right. My brain goes there, and it's been crushing me.
If you guys have thoughts, by the way,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to send them to us. We'd love to we'll hit you back and be like, oh my God, I hear it too.
Yeah.
Might make some side content off of it, honestly.
But I definitely get Love the One You're With. I literally say Love the One You're With me and Julio, sung by Beck.
Yeah. Done. Next.
Next.
This is a great tune. Treat People with Kindness.
Okay. Want me to give you a list?
I would love it.
Okay. Age of Aquarius meets Jesus Christ Superstar.
Go.
Or Age of Aquarius meets Jesus Christ Superstar meets Grease with Motown 4 on the floor.
Yep. Done and done. Dead on. It's so easy to see where they're pulling from on these. It's brilliant that they pulled from them.
Yeah.
It's like they did like a Benjamin Button on this album. You open up in like today's most pristine production, but also you're using the same song formats. You're giving this appeal. As the song progresses, it actually regresses. They strip back the instruments a little bit. Now we feel like we're in 67.
Yeah. It's yes. Starts off musical theater and then gets back.
But the funny part is we haven't lost production value.
Not at all.
It sounds so good.
It does. This is a fun song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The what did I have here? I'm trying to read my notes here. Yeah. So I've got the English for chaka, right? Rock opera reminiscent.
Yep.
Right, we're there. And then yeah, what did I have? Oh, I had Rolling Stones meets Earth, Winds, and Fire for the second half of the song.
I'm with you there. Yeah. And with my little list there, the Grease part of it, it doesn't sound like anything from Grease other than the vibe of You're the One That I Want.
Agreed. Yeah, it's just an energetic song.
Yeah.
Celebratory, and as second to last song on the album, a good listen.
It'd be a hell of a closer.
Frankly, yeah, it would be a pretty good closer. Unfortunately, the title track is the closer. Not unfortunately.
Not unfortunately.
No, the title track is the closer at double the timestamp.
6 minutes, 17 seconds.
Woo! And no, by the way, so you would look at that curse of, not curse, but the first song metrics and how it's always going to be fluffed. Last 3 songs of the album, Canyon Moon, 222 million. Just 200.
Just that's it.
We take a loss on Treat People with Kindness at 206 million.
Listen to it, guys. That song
It's a kick-ass song.
slaps.
I just feel like 11th position isn't a great place to be.
It's not.
It's hard to believe it's a 12-song album, to be frank with you. It feels like 9. I don't know where it all came from. But you go back, and the last song on the album, the Fine Line, which is the title track, is at 548 million. So like that's double the last two songs.
And the song is not necessarily, I mean, I like this song. My comparisons is a pop Radiohead with Billie Eilish production.
Okay.
In that vibe at the beginning. It grows beyond that, but it's like
Why Radiohead?
the mood of the beginning of Fine Line.
It's pretty raw.
Right.
I mean,
It's not
they've got an acoustic guitar, and there's like someone should have retook it, but I think they kept it in intentionally. Like there's buzzes and stuff, you know.
right.
It starts
So-
off with like a weird, like a swell of like Eastern European, like Asian, like there's like that. You know what I'm talking about? It's like
Yeah.
a crazy like string section
Yeah.
that blooms and leaves.
Right. And that's actually why it's not, national anthem or,
No, I'm saying it's not high and dry either.
right. It's not. I just feel like the soundscape to me and the kind of the desperation, because this is a fairly desperate song.
I would agree
know.
with that.
Like this is only one I think it's worth talking about, like the lyrical content.
Yeah, this is one of the ones where they took the time to let him tell a story.
Yeah. I mean, it's really like, it's a very like tough sort of exploration of like the fragility of love.
Yep.
Right. And there's some really cool stuff in here. There's like this duality of tension. Like you put a price on emotion and I'm looking for something to buy.
And they painted the soundscape to match it.
Yeah.
The double vocals, long held out. You know what this struck me as? And I can't unhear it. It reminded me of like the Shins. Like the
Okay.
Garden State soundtrack. Like it would fit perfectly on it.
Yeah. All right. I didn't hear that, but yes.
Like that weird, but think about the mindset, right? Like this like mildly depressed, flat, but kind of hopeful.
Yeah. Well, I think it ends with hope. Well,
Oh, it totally does. Well, the drum kind of pushes it, right?
yeah. Yeah. It grows, it swells. The band comes in. We have live horns.
There's an odd synth thing that's very out of place that bugs me there.
Yeah. I'm with you.
That's honestly the only misstep on the album I've heard comes at the last 30 seconds of the last song.
Yeah. One thing I haven't talked about that I want to talk about on this, but I want to bring it back to Harry, is actually I think Harry has really solid rhythm.
Yes. He can sing. His cadence is awesome.
Yeah, and there are parts in the album where he's hitting some not standard rhythms that he's doing. We talked about the song that Carl says is in 4. I say it could be polymeter. It's probably just in 4. He's probably right, but this song gets into, and there's a couple spots on the album too, but it gets almost a little bit of like Imagine Dragons, this sort of vibe towards the end in that build. But I love the 3/4 accents. Like there's a 16th note pattern that's going on, and they're accenting every 3 notes, so it feels like it's a triplet, but it's not.
Another three, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not. And the whole orchestra, all the orchestration sort of hits that.
It
It's
builds
nice.
energy.
It does.
It really does.
Yeah.
And, this song was not mistakenly placed.
Yeah, I think it's great. It ends hopefully, but it's ambiguous because it doesn't resolve.
Thanks, the 6th.
Harmonically, it does not resolve. Guy, I forgot the lyrics, but it's like, will we be all right? Right?
Yeah, and you kept asking the question.
Over
Is
and
it all
over.
right? Is it all right? Is it
Yeah.
all right? And it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think I use the
Yeah.
top spinning
Yeah.
in
Yeah, it's "We'll be all right." "We'll be all
Yeah.
right" is what they repeat. I had to pull up the lyrics.
what's the movie with the
Inception?
Inception? Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know.
Correct.
Oh, so overall, two things kind of like strike me. One is that Harry, I think, is a very good musician.
Mhm.
because only a good musician would have the ear to get out of the way and let this much good music around them, regardless of their role, happen. The music on this album across the board is fantastic.
It's an album made by a music fan.
Oh, there's no question about it. And the role he plays really caters to that. He's not just all, it's not about him.
No.
And I really enjoyed that.
I walked into this not thinking, I didn't have high hopes.
I didn't, I was like, cool, I'm going to listen to a pop album now.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew the hits. I had feelings about
I
the
knew
hits.
the hit and a half. Yeah. I knew the chorus to Adore You. I think I couldn't tell you the words.
Right.
Of course, we knew Watermelon Sugar.
Yeah.
But you get a guy who I think at the end of the day, if he believes in this album and the music enough to make this, I believe in him. I'm in. Like, I feel like he earned my vote on this one in a big way.
I'm sure he appreciates it.
You're welcome, Harry.
Yeah.
£1 million, please. Would you hit it?
Yeah, I would.
I would too.
I would.
I'll listen to this again. I'll probably cover a few of these.
Yeah. And I would encourage people who maybe would look the other way at this.
I was that guy until this got assigned to me.
Yeah. Give it a shot. Give it a shot. If you're not a fan of the hits, if it's not your thing,
By song 5, it will be.
by song 5, it's a different journey.
It's a great listen, and I think it's earned its place here. I will say, not knowing what's coming up, remember, to be top 500 of all time is a hell of an accolade, right? So it's like, is it well placed at 490 or 491?
I feel like this is a huge departure from Suicide.
Ugh, kill me. And frankly, if you look at the stuff that we've listened to so far, this is by far one of the best.
And for listeners who might not have listened to the previous episodes, Suicide is a band, and they put
And
out
an album.
and an album.
Not just Dan hating on.
Yes, yes, that is not. Yes,
Yeah, it's this. I think this may actually be a value pick in the top 10. It's as good as anything we've listened to. Speaking of albums, what's coming down next?
Next week we have album 490, which is the album "Heart Like a Wheel" by Linda Ronstadt.
Woo! Of course, if you have commentary, which we certainly hope you do, you can always catch us on our email
backwardsbeatspodcast@gmail.com
or on the gram.
at Backwards Beats Podcast.
We appreciate you so much. This is Carl
This is Dan.
signing off.
Bye.
See you next week.
That was a show about the album Fine Line by Harry Styles. Even with the auto-tune, we think this album slaps.
Backwards Beats Podcast is a Tuna-Wood production recorded live at Thought Shack Studios in Halethorpe, Maryland.
If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can find us at Backwards Beats Podcast on most platforms.
Share the love, and we'll see you next week for another deep dive into the next album on Rolling Stone Magazine's Top 500 list. Until then, salt your melons.